Hey everybody, welcome to episode 18 of the Go Get Outside podcast. This is your host, Jason Milligan. That's right, this is episode 18. The podcast is officially grown up. On today's show, we'll be talking to my buddy Steve Sieren. He's a badass photographer, all-around outdoors dude, and a daddy. He and I got together at Mann Biomedical Park over in Valencia on that same windy day from episode 15 when I interviewed Katie Cannell. So be prepared for lots of wind and microphones falling over. Overall, I think it should still sound pretty good. So let's go listen to Steve Sieren talk about photography, backpacking, getting your family outside, canyoneering, and the lewd way he and I met a year or two ago.
Hi everyone, this is Steve Sieren. I'm into outdoor photography. I also like tons of outdoor recreation, all different kinds of stuff, like trying new stuff that I've never done before. I've been living in Southern California my whole life. I'm always surprised at the things I find out here. I bought a kayak the other day, took that out to the Colorado River, tried jet skiing for the first, sea-doing for the first time ever.
Is there a difference? I mean, they're the same thing, right?
Kayaking and sea-doing?
No, sea-doing and jet skiing. I think the difference is who made the device that you're
I thought
on.
maybe a jet ski you stand up on.
Oh, maybe there is a difference.
Or maybe that's the weird one that goes by shooting water up in the air.
So do you sit down on a sea-doo?
Yeah, you definitely sit down.
We sound like a couple of idiots, right? Okay, so I think a sea-doo you sit on and a jet ski you stand on. And if we're wrong, I'm sure people can tell us. So basically, you just want to do anything that gets you out of your house, more or less.
Yeah, pretty much.
From what I've seen, because you post pictures all the time, it seems like you are never in your house, man. You're always some random
I'm actually
place.
in the house when I have to edit photos, so I'm in there, I would say, half the time.
Yeah, that's kind of the same here, too. People see, like, Facebook posts from climbing or something, like, do you ever work? For me, I feel like that's all I ever do is work. I don't post pictures of me working. I don't post pictures of me at a computer.
Yeah, I guess it could be hard to tell because cell phone, sometimes they take pics that look just like a DSLR, and that, you can upload from wherever you are almost, depending if you have service or not.
So you make a living as a photographer, right? You're primarily architectural photographer, right?
Yeah, architectural photography.
And what does that mean?
I'm photographing lots of real estate and then some commercial stuff for designers, interior designers, stuff like that. Mostly those two things.
And that's your bread and butter, right? That's how you make your money?
Yeah, that's my bread and butter right now at the moment.
But you teach courses sometimes too,
I was teaching more, but then I had a kid, got married, and the amount of time I needed to be at home kind of changed, and I guess I started doing lots of architectural photography. So you can make a lot of money quicker than the outdoor stuff. Probably gonna have another kid, working on that. So
are you?
I guess they have to get
actively working on a child, not at this exact moment, but in the privacy of your home.
Me and my wife.
Well, it's good to hear it's with your wife. But you do also do a crap ton of outdoor photography as a hobby, or are you selling some of those or doing those for clients as well?
I sell stuff and I get licensing requests and stuff like that, stock photography, that kind of stuff. I sell, the fine art prints over the internet. Done stuff in galleries and stuff like that, and I get the occasional visitor center, for the National Park Service or stuff like that, where I do small projects for them.
Do you ever sell any of your photos to clients who have hired you to photograph their home? And then you say, hey, look, I also have some awesome photos you might want to put on your walls.
I don't really do that as much as I should.
It seems like a way to make a little extra money on the side. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
You may want to consider that in the future.
That's definitely a good idea.
So how'd you get into photography?
That's sort of a tough question. I've always been interested in it and always done it on and off as, a kid. I guess my parents moved away once I graduated high school. They moved up to the Reno, Tahoe area. I guess I flew, up and over the Sierra from San Jose to the Reno airport. Kind of fly right over the Sierra Nevada and you see all those snow-covered mountains, just endless wilderness up there. So this is my first time flying, so I was pretty amazed at seeing
When would that have been?
I guess shortly after I graduated high school, maybe like when I was 20. So I guess, wow, almost 20 years ago. I guess I took another trip up there and drove. The same thing. It's just the scenery up there. It's amazing. It just kind of hooked me with the outdoor photography.
Do you have any photographic training, or are you self-taught?
Self-taught, read a lot of books and wasted a lot of time and
probably a lot of film in
a
the
lot
early
of
days?
film, yeah. And I would say film, it was harder to learn. You know, you didn't get that instant feedback. After a couple of years of film, slowly get better. And I was young, so I didn't really have that much money, and I couldn't afford all the printing costs. And you can get in the habit of just buying all kinds of junk. Some of it you do need, but a lot of it you don't really need. So I guess once I switched to digital, I was within less than a year, I was getting published in magazines and stuff like that. The digital was definitely like an accelerated learning process.
In everything, in video and in photography, I think it's made a drastic difference because exactly why you said, instant feedback and almost limitless opportunities to refine. Oh, I don't like this one, so let me delete it and take another one, try different settings until you get it right. You don't have to go through 4 rolls of film to find out which one worked.
It's amazing how just everything changed that way.
So how many cameras do you own right now?
Oh, I have no idea. I would say less than 10.
Oh, well, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. How many of them do you use regularly?
Maybe about 3 of them.
You take a lot of kind of secluded backcountry photos, or you at least are very good at making them look like they are. So how much gear are you carrying when you go out there to take these photos?
It really varies. If I'm by myself, I would usually say mostly the bare minimum. Unless I'm, with some group of friends and I know they're going to be traveling slow, then I'll definitely load up on extra things that I don't really need out there just for comfort.
But for a camera gear, do you tend to carry just like a one camera body and a few lenses?
Oh yeah,
or?
Really just one camera body. I've got 3 lenses that I regularly use, but let's just say I'm gonna go do like some summit in the Sierra. I will narrow it down to just one lens, one super light tripod. I can get the gear down to like less than 6 pounds.
You do this pretty frequently, right? Do you go out a few times a month by yourself, backpack through some areas, get some photos? Or you allow your pictures off the side of the road and you're just really good at framing and making them look like they're more secluded than they are?
I would say it's a mixture. I'm definitely able to shoot stuff off the side of the road, and I guess if you're in a place that nobody's really interested in and you are at the side of the road, no one's gonna know where you are because it's not like a familiar scene to people. Backpacking, not as much now since I had the kid, and I'm going to get him into backpacking. I got him a backpack, and I'll be taking him before he turns 2. Trying to get the family more involved in it.
Yeah, how old is he? Is he 2?
He'll be 2 in July, so he's getting close to 2.
I've seen lots of photos where you've got him in a backpack or...
I love to drag him outside now. He's getting kind of big. He wants to be on his own, walking around out there, so I can't take him on long trips because he doesn't want to stay in the backpack. I would take him over and up and over this trail over here at Townsley. It's like a 5-mile loop. It takes like an hour to run it. If I got him in the backpack, it'll take me like 2 hours to get up and over it, but I'll let him out at the top and he enjoys it.
Yeah, I have another friend who has children. She was actually in the hiking video that I'd put together. Her plan is start them young. She brings her daughter out in diapers, changes her on the trail and everything. Her thought is get them there before they know better.
Yeah.
And they'll probably like it. Before they've decided they don't like it and you have to change their mind. Our mutual friend Scott, he has 2 daughters and he's fighting with that right now because the oldest one is old enough to maybe think she doesn't like it, whereas the youngest one isn't old enough to feel that way and so she loves it. And so maybe starting them now is going to work out pretty well for you. How's the wife like it?
It's interesting. She was going outside with me a lot, and then I just started going constantly every minute that I got. And I think that kind of like threw her off a little bit. And then she had the kid, Carter is his name, and
it's good to know you remember your son's name.
I don't know. She took that as kind of like I want to keep him indoors and keep him safe from crazy daddy. So I don't blame her for that, but he gets outside enough to where he's enjoying it. I guess we're gonna have a little birthday party for him, and it's gonna be a camping trip in the backyard with his with my other friends that don't get outdoors much, and they're going to have their kids in the backyard. Should be interesting.
This is going to be one of those pop-up tents in the backyard, make hot dogs and
Yeah,
s'mores and roast marshmallows and all that.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're doing.
So get him around fire as soon as possible is what you're saying.
Yeah, we'll see how that works out.
How did you get into backpacking then?
I got into backpacking because I just saw wilderness photos that, other people took, like Ansel Adams and Galen Rowell and stuff like that. David Munch, a couple of others that are very well known for that kind of stuff. Never had done it before and figured, well, I got to go spend the night out in the wilderness. I figured I'd go by myself, of course, because, wait for other people to go is not the best option, or you could end up waiting forever and never go. So
Right, so everyone knows the best scenario is, I don't know how to do this. Let me go by myself and figure it out.
Yeah, so I actually did that. Went by myself. I did like a 2-night trip up in the Ansel Adams Wilderness above Mammoth Lakes. Encountered snow. Didn't really know how to proceed down a steep, icy slope, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. And,
When would this have been in your life?
Oh, it's maybe like 15 years ago, something
All right,
like
so
that.
mid-20s?
Yeah.
Early to mid-20s?
Yeah, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. I did end up seeing a bear, which I figured, oh my God, what if I see a bear at night? What am I going to do? Didn't bother me, and I didn't bother it. And
Yeah, the good thing about bears in this area is they're
not
black
grizzlies.
bears, so they're not so worrisome. Yeah, they're not grizzlies or polar bears.
So yeah, as long as you put your food in a bear canister and do what the rangers tell you to do with it, that's what keeps them from getting your food. And
Did you have a canister at that time?
yeah, I had a canister.
Okay, so you at least knew about that at that point.
Yeah, which really sucked because it adds, quite a bit of weight to your
Yeah, and they're
pack.
huge and bulky. Yeah.
I bought a much nicer one that I use now.
Which one are you using now?
It's the smaller, clear plastic one. I think it's Garcia's the one that makes it.
Oh, I'm not sure. I think I have the Bear Volt. It's
Yeah, I think
clear,
that's
but
what
it's
it is.
huge. I feel like it's the
Yeah,
one with the little
there's-
tabs. It looks like it's got a 45 record on the
Yeah,
top.
there's two versions of that. A big one, like the big black ones that you can rent, and then there's a smaller one. So I have that one, and I actually know how to pack, different kind of food rather than like the whole mountain house, just pour water in there. And I mean, that is so easy and convenient, but
Yeah, what kind of food do you like to bring? Because there's a wide variety of what people like to eat.
I have a dehydrator now, so I can dehydrate my own meat. And I look for anything that you can cook in 3 to 5 minutes. It's like a noodle or a grain or anything like that. And then I'll just bring some cheese or Parmesan cheese, whatever. Anything that has a crap load of calories in it, because you definitely want a lot of calories if you're carrying a heavy pack. And the longer the distance, the more you want to take.
All those dehydrated meals, like the store-bought dehydrated meals, when you're really tired and you really had a long day, they're pretty good. But man, you get sick of those things.
Yeah, and they're, they take a toll on your stomach.
Yeah, they do. They do. They do.
It's-
They definitely make you more fluid than solid.
Yeah,
I will say.
It's interesting. It's just like eating McDonald's.
What I've discovered recently, maybe you've come across these, the Bombay potatoes.
No, I haven't
I'm
seen
a big
those.
fan of the Bombay potatoes, man. They're called Tasty Bites,
I-
and they're a little bag, and you boil the bag for like 5 minutes, and it's not dehydrated. It's just vacuum sealed or something.
Okay.
It's like Indian style potatoes with all kinds of spices. Good, and they make a lentil one too, man. So Tasty Bites, check those out.
Tasty Bites.
Yeah, that's my tip for the day. Tasty Bites. So you're also into canyoneering, right?
Oh yeah.
That's how I know you. We met in that funny little situation the day that your pants were ripped open and your
Oh.
junk was hanging out all day. Don't tear your pants on the way to the trail.
Yeah. Wear 2 pairs of underwear.
I gotta say that's the day I met you, and I knew that I'd get along with you because despite the fact that your testicles were hanging out most of the day, you were totally cool about it. You didn't get embarrassed. You're just like, yeah, this is what's happening. We're just gonna deal with it.
Yeah, I believe you handed me some
Duct tape?
neon orange, construction orange duct tape to wrap my balls in.
Well, whatever I could do to help draw attention to them. So how did you get into canyoneering?
How did I get into canyoneering? Oh, I took a trip to Death Valley and I looked up some canyon. I had no idea anything about canyoneering. I maybe went, top rope climbing a dozen times in my life before that. And I just went into a canyon. There's a rope there. I kind of went up that rope, up some dry, slick, really slick waterfall, which was way slipperier than I thought. But I just kind of climbed up that rope, maybe like 25 feet or so. I got up there and I just took a picture of myself and I posted it on the internet. A guy named David Angel saw it.
Did you know him prior to that?
I actually did know him prior to that because I did a backpacking trip with him once up in the Sierra before. So he saw it and he kind of said, "Hey, I didn't know you do canyoneering or go canyoneering." And I was like,
and you said, "What is that?"
Well, I knew what it was, but I was like, "Yeah, I want to go." So then I went, and that was kind of it. I did Eaton Canyon, and I took a GoPro in there with me just so I'd, have something to prove I went canyoneering. And I lost the GoPro in one of the pools.
I've also lost a GoPro in Eaton Canyon in one of the pools, so we are GoPro Eaton Canyon buddies.
I went with one of his friends named Dominic Nadowski. He just kind of took me on a trip at 3 o'clock after work, something like that. We ended up starting late, like at 3:30, and
so you were totally green at this point.
I was
Did you
totally
even know
green.
how to rappel or anything?
I had an ATS. I forgot it in the car.
You had an ATS or an ATC?
I had an ATS that was brand new,
okay.
And I left it in the car, but I did have an ATC on my harness.
These are different types of belay/rappel devices, if anybody doesn't know what we're talking about.
Yeah, this is like a basic tube device that you kind of stop, and it's much harder to lock off if you're, stop yourself from going down the rope.
Yeah, it's not bad for rappelling off of climbs. It's not ideal for rappelling through water.
Halfway through the canyon, it was already dark once we hit the first waterfalls, or the bigger waterfalls towards the end. So,
and Eaton?
Yeah, and Eaton.
So it took you guys that long to go through the canyon?
Well, it's 3:30 in the afternoon.
Oh, because you started late, right?
Yeah, so I go down, and there's a knot in the rope in the waterfall. All I know is you just pull that rope down, down towards your hip, and that's what stops you. That's all I pretty much know about it. Pull that thing down, and I pull up the rope with like the left hand and like use my teeth and untie the knot. And before that, I was yelling up at him and blowing a whistle. That's kind of what you do if you need some kind of help or something. And the guy couldn't hear me because the water was too loud. And it was dark, so I didn't have a waterproof headlamp either. I ended up getting the knot out and everything went fine, and we made it through the canyon in like 6 hours, so not bad at all. But I did lose the GoPro, so I called David Angel the next day and said, "Hey, can we do Eaton as soon as possible so I can go find that thing?" And
did you ever find it?
Yeah, I lost it on a Wednesday and I went back and found it on Saturday. So I went and did that canyon over again.
Oh, that's pretty good luck. The one I lost, I'll be surprised if it ever surfaces again. I, for some reason, told my buddy to throw it down to me, and then he did. It hit the water and just sank, and it was one of the deeper pools. And we tried diving down and it was freezing cold. We gave up after about 20 minutes. So that's how you got into it, huh?
Yeah, that's how I got into it. Eaton Canyon's a really great introduction.
Especially if you don't try to drown yourself on rappel. So what do you have planned for the rest of the year?
Next weekend I'm going to go kayaking Colorado River with the wife.
Flat water or white water? Or?
No, just like a basic class 2. Just kind of more of a float down river. Either Black Canyon or El Dorado Canyon. We've already done Black, so we might just do El Dorado, and that's south of the Hoover Dam there. It's a good popular place for people to check out kayaking or canoeing if they've never done it before.
Is that going to be your new thing now? We're going to see a lot of kayak pictures?
No, my wife actually it was her idea to do this. We're going to Vegas. Her parents have a timeshare that they let us borrow, so it's just good to get out, wherever you go.
What's an average work week look like for you? Because I know you do a lot of the architectural photography, but then it also seems like you try to balance it out with the outdoor photography.
I got a lot of clients that I deal with the architectural photography, so during the week I'm pretty busy doing that, kind of working overtime with that a lot. And I guess for my sanity, I go into my hard drives and I just kind of skim through something that catches my interest, and when I edit that and some outdoor nature pic, and that's kind of what keeps me feeling like I'm outside when I'm not. Yeah, that's kind of what happens. And just right now it's just kind of a hectic week for me always, because I'm very busy.
Well, and you've got a toddler too now.
Yeah, I got the toddler. I got to hang out with him as much as I can, but during the week it's not that much.
So you work out of the house a lot whenever you're not on a shoot, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
does
I'm
that
always
mean
editing.
are you watching the kid while you work at home, or do you send him off to?
You know, I can't really, but I mean, just like if I wake up and he wakes up and my wife doesn't get up to watch him or something, or if he just wakes up early, then he'll come over to me and I'll just kind of plop him on my lap. But sometimes he doesn't want to sit there, other times he does.
Yeah, because I think people think, oh, if you work from home, you don't need a babysitter. You can just watch the kid while you work.
Yeah, no, it's
then you
very
can't
difficult.
work. Right.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes he'll watch something on YouTube for, he'll jump on my lap and say, song, and then I'll find something on YouTube for him or something to watch.
And then you come back later and he's surfed through the associated videos. A friend of mine, when his kid was about the same age as yours, he'd let him watch YouTube sometimes and walk away. And he said he came back one time and he had just kept clicking through related videos. And when he came back, his son was watching videos of just like big-breasted women jumping up and down,
holding Coke cans in between their boobs.
So you may need to keep an eye on what he clicks through to.
Yeah, definitely.
He's only 2 now. In a few more years, you'll be able to start taking him cooler places. He'll be able to walk, maybe even carry something. You have any plans, places you'd like to take him when he gets a little older?
Well, I am going to take him backpacking to the Sierra. There's one spot that it's relatively short to where if he decides he doesn't want to walk, and then I can just pick him up. But I got him a little backpack, so I'm definitely going to throw some gear in there for him to carry, just so he feels like he's backpacking too.
So like a pillow. He's going to carry a pillow and maybe
a fluffy sweater, I guess. Very light stuff.
So do you have a website or anything? If anybody wanted to look at your photos, or if anybody was interested in possibly buying some pretty cool outdoor pictures?
Yeah, I do. I've got a couple of websites. I got one that's called easternsierraphoto.com, and that's tons of pictures of the east side of the Sierra Nevada here in California. Lots of wilderness stuff, lots of stuff that you can kind of drive up to see. Some stuff's remote, some stuff's iconic. Lots of that, and then I got another website called Mojave Desert Photo. It's a bunch of pictures of the local desert just north of Los Angeles. Tons of remote things out there that people probably haven't seen before, and even stuff, that landscape photographers would be into. There's lots of stuff on there that they probably haven't seen before, little pockets of wilderness out there that people would be interested in seeing, and stuff like that make for good photography out there.
And do you think you're going to offer any more courses in the future, or do you think that's maybe
No,
done
yeah,
for
I
the time being?
definitely will. I kind of want to have just, the other kid and get them both going. But I'll probably start in Death Valley and Zion again.
How would people find out about those courses?
They could just go to the website, mojavedesertphoto.com, and there's a workshop tab on there that has info on it.
Have you done a lot of those workshops?
I've done quite a few.
How's that experience? Because I'm sure you meet a lot of new people. You get to watch them develop as photographers.
Pretty interesting. I lived in Thousand Oaks, which is 10 miles from the beach. There's a couple of little pocket beaches that you can get really good photos, and people really love this one spot out there in Malibu that just has these sea stacks, and they go out, and a lot of students are brand new to photography, and they kind of have no idea, so I just kind of help them out, point them in the right direction, show them how to compose, and you can shoot in better light than just regular old midday light. But yeah, and then I'm friends with them afterwards, and I get to see how they progress and change, and some of them start teaching their own workshops too, so it is really cool to see that.
Mentioning light, that's a good point. It's one of the things a lot of people don't necessarily understand about photography is specifically about capturing light at certain times, certain angles. It's about the way that light shapes objects. So when you're going out places to take these photos, these nature photos, you have no control over that light. What do? Are you spending days at a time in one location waiting for the right light to get the right photo?
I can't really do the whole waiting for days thing just because I don't want to be in one place for, so long. I'll go to a place that's really got, lots of potential and stuff. If I don't get the light I want, I have to come back. or sometimes I'll stay there, but most of the time I just have to come back at a later time and just keep, hoping I get some good light or, some good nice clouds and stuff like that, or any kind of dramatic weather that doesn't happen all the time.
When you know you're going out to a particular location, do you plan ahead of time? Do you think like, okay, sun position's probably this?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna camp out on top of Mono Jim Walker Peak next month near the summer solstice. That's one point where I've got this mountain peak called Mount Morrison that it's about 2,000 foot rock face. From that peak on the summer solstice, you can get light on the peak at sunset. So I can get, good light there on sunset and at sunrise as well. And that's the only time of year you can do that. So it should be something a little different. And I've got to sleep on top of a mountain ridge for that. Hopefully it doesn't snow that night, and hopefully I don't get really bad conditions, because then I'll have to wait till I come back, next year or something like that.
Do you find that there's a particular time of day, just on average, that's probably a better choice? Like if you could only go out, say, for 4 hours to get a picture of somewhere and you weren't familiar with the area, would you choose morning, late evening, middle of the day?
Let's just say it's just your basic hillside. So you're going to want to do sunset or sunrise, and you want to be there before sunset, because you get that golden light, an hour before. And that's really the magic light. They call that the magic hour. It also happens at sunrise, just right after sunrise. But there's also twilight. Those are the really amazing times of day where just stuff really changes and it looks dramatic, and it only lasts for minutes. So I guess depending on which way that slope is facing that you're on, you can look at like Google Earth, and it'll simulate how the light hits your mountain slope or which way you're pointing the camera or wanting to point the camera. You can use that for big scenes, and that'll help you point the camera into interesting light. It's a great tool, Google Earth.
Is that how you find out about a lot of sun positioning and things like that, or do you use some of these apps that are out now?
I'm not that high tech with all the apps and stuff. I use Google Earth on the desktop at home, so it's usually just for big stuff. If I'm going somewhere and it's just random, I don't really use Google Earth at all. I just go and hope I find something good. And that last minute of light or first minute of light that pops out there, that's the best light for a subject.
So this is not related to that, but speaking of technology, it made me think about this. So you have a kid at home, you've got a wife at home, and you like to spend a lot of time by yourself out in nature, sometimes for multiple days. And they probably want to be sure that you're all right. Do you carry any kind of communication device? Any kind of personal locator beacon or anything like that?
Yeah, I've got a Spot. I don't use the Spot anymore. I have something called a Delorme InReach, and it's basically just a little satellite communicator. It can pair up with the phone. I can set breadcrumbs that kind of say where I am and what time it was, and I can set it to do it at intervals. And so if they want to access where I am, they can do that. But I don't really use it. I kind of just leave it in the backpack as an SOS. The battery life on it's very long. It's better left on, though. It'll work faster when you need it if you leave it on, but the battery lasts a long time if it's off.
And that one also has GPS, right? It has some GPS maps included. And you can text people too, right?
Yeah, you can send. It works better with an email address, but you can text, send messages. Any message you want in text format.
But the Spot could not do that, right? The Spot, if I remember correctly, could only say, I need help or I'm okay.
Yeah,
right?
You can set something, but it has to be beforehand. So it's, it's going to be your generic thing that you're going to send out.
Okay, so you could pre-compose a message.
Yeah.
Beforehand.
But I mean, if something bad happens, you're gonna want to give this story like I'm with who are the people, and it's someone else's hurt, not me. So that's really important.
And within reach, you can do that.
Yeah, because if you have family and you pull that thing, your family's gonna get contacted. But what if you are doing it for somebody else? Your family's gonna kill you when you get home.
Right. Most of the time, you would not have cell service, right, in these places, and that's why you would need that. All of these things, the Spot, the InReach, all of them, they all have a monthly subscription rate, right?
Yeah, you can vary it to however much it is, but it comes down as low as like $12 a month.
Which plan are you on?
Right now I'm on the $12 a month.
And what does that give you?
Oh, I don't know exactly, but for the amount that I'm outside, it's well enough. I don't use it heavily, so that plan is good enough.
Have you been in a situation where anyone's had to use a locator beacon or call for rescue or anything before?
Yes, I have.
When was that?
We didn't have one though.
Oh, of course not. That's why you have one now, right?
Yeah, that is part of the reason. That was on a canyoneering trip in the San Gabriel Mountains.
Oh, local.
Yeah, local.
Which canyon was this?
It was Stoddard Canyon.
Was it actually an emergency situation, or it was?
No, it wasn't an emergency situation. So we were just late coming back.
I think another one you're talking about. This is the one with Alden.
Yeah, this one's actually
this
a famous one.
A couple years ago, right?
Yeah, this one's kind of a well-known trip. There was actually, well, someone just said, hey, they told their wife, I'll be back at 2 o'clock. And we started at like 8 or 9. And that was a canyon that no one had done before, so nobody had any, trip info besides the 20-year-old beta from Brennan. So there was just so much thorn bush and like blackberry bushes, whatever it was, vines and stuff in the whole canyon. So
just a lot of bushwhacking.
Yeah, it was a rat
slows
nest.
You down immensely. So I know the case you're talking about. So this isn't a situation where someone actually needed to be rescued. This is a situation where someone not inside the canyon with you guys got worried and contacted search and rescue. So I think the important takeaway from this is give a realistic window to your people at home for when you expect to be back, because 2 o'clock, even for something you have done before, is probably unrealistic.
Yeah, it was very unrealistic. But we weren't out of that canyon until about, I want to say, 10 p.m., 11 maybe, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I remember that night because Facebook blew up a little bit where people were trying to figure out where you guys were, and they ended up calling search and rescue, right?
Yeah.
And the helicopter came out.
Yeah, they sent out a helicopter. It was amazing how the helicopter actually didn't seem like it could find us unless we pointed our headlamps like up towards it. But it was, they found us, and then they sent a party on the ground to meet us at the mouth of the canyon. So they had like half a mile in before they, met us, and we had one person that was a little older, and they were just, kind of tired and moving slow. So, that kind of was another thing that, was on top of all the bushwhacking that slowed us down. But, I mean, she kept going. She did not, she did give up, sort of, but it was more of it like a joke. She kind of sat down on the ground and said, I've had a good life, just leave me here. But, we weren't going to leave her there. We took some of her stuff and we just kept her moving. And there was one point, though, where she did say, my tongue is numb. And
oh, was it because it was cold? Or?
I think she might have accidentally, like, grabbed some stinging nettle and maybe popped a glove in her mouth or her finger in her mouth or something.
But you guys did have to swim across some pools, right?
Yeah, actually, at the
cold.
very end, this was in wintertime here in SoCal, and at the very end of the trip, there's in the last mile, there's 2 big waterfalls, and there's no water in the canyon at all. And then you get to this point, and there's 2 pools that you have to swim across. So, and they're freezing cold, and we have no idea what it's like. So Alden sends me down first, and I'm the one that gets to experience that. And so we all know that there's, a pool down there that we got to swim across, and then the same thing happens at the next one. It's some freezing cold pool that we have to swim across. I mean, that was the only thing I was worried about, is people getting hypothermia if they didn't have the right clothes on.
Right, which is why you should always carry rain gear and fleeces and things like that, even if you don't think and a headlamp.
Yeah, I had one of those, one of those weird puff jackets that's insulates when wet. I don't know what it's called. Micro puff.
Oh, nano puff?
Micro puff from North Face. It's like
similar to the nano puff.
Yeah, it's
probably.
the little balls of something like, I don't know what it is, some kind of synthetic material that stays warm and insulates.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. It's similar to fleece material, I'm sure, some sort of plastic. If you had that device with you, would people have been able to communicate with you, or can you only send out data? Like, could someone have contacted you and say, hey, are you guys okay? Should we call search and rescue, and avoid that situation entirely?
Here's the thing. If I had the Spot device on me, I wouldn't be able to send anything to the spouse of the guy that was with us that had called search and rescue.
Right.
So it would have happened anyways, unless somebody got a hold of her on Facebook or something. My wife doesn't really use Facebook, so I would have contacted her and just said, hey, I'm okay, just running late, extreme amounts of bushwhacking, and that would have been it. And
But could your wife communicate with you? Like, if you're out somewhere, can she send you a message
No.
to the device?
that device, I don't believe gets messages back. You just send them out, and that's
Okay.
it.
I don't know that anyone offers that yet, right?
Oh, the Delorme, actually, she can reply.
Oh, so she can reply to that one.
But in the canyon, it's definitely, the service is spottier.
Right, because the canyon walls can interfere, right? You still need to get a clear image of the sky for the
Yeah.
satellite passing.
Yeah, that canyon had some opening spots, so we definitely would have been able to get messages out easily.
Anything else you want to throw in there? Any website you forgot to mention?
No.
Any photos you want people to go look at?
Yeah, check out, there is one photo that you really got to check out. It's on the Mojave Desert photo site, mojavedesert.com. It's just a nice, cool-looking rattlesnake curled up, ready to strike, and it's in a bed of California poppies.
This is a photo you got?
Yeah, this is a photo I took a few years back out in the Lancaster area.
How close to this rattlesnake is this photo?
I would say, about 10 feet or so, something like
Okay.
that. Maybe a little closer than that.
Close enough to make you uncomfortable?
Yeah, the photo looks very uncomfortable. It looks extremely close.
All right, so go check out that rattlesnake picture. All right, so that's it, dude. That's all there was to it. Now you can get your ADD ass back in motion. If you happen to be one of those people who regularly check out the show notes, I'm sure that's all of you out there. If you looked at the show notes for episode 10 with Scott Merrill, you have already seen a couple of Steve Sieren's photos. That should not stop you from going to the show notes this week. Go getoutside.com/podcast. Episode 18, Steve Sieren. See a bunch, 14 of his outdoor photos, including that rattlesnake photo that he mentioned during the interview. You'll also find links to his websites, the Delorme InReach and Spot locator devices that we discussed, a link to that Go Get Outside hiking video that we brought up, and perhaps most importantly, a link to Tasty Bite, where you too can get your own bag of Bombay potatoes to take backpacking and see if you have the same sort of taste as I do. As much as I appreciate Mountain House and all the other dehydrated foods, you get really sick of that stuff, but man, I do not get sick of those Bombay potatoes or the Madras lentils. And for those of you wondering, you will be happy to know that working on it worked. Steve and his wife are expecting another child. He's going to have a daughter not too long from now. So he'll have the whole family unit, mommy, daddy, little boy, little girl. All the bases are covered. So I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, man, I sure do wish I could contact the people at this show. Well, you, my friend, are in luck. You can contact us through email, go@butcherbirdstudios.com. Or if you're one of those people that likes to pick up a phone machine and talk to people one-on-one, well, you can't do that. But you can do the next best thing. You can leave us a voicemail. You can call 818-925-0106. It's the end of the year, so that means all of the winter solstice-related celebrations are coming along. Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, New Year, whatever I've missed. Saturnalia, maybe. I think I missed that one. If you want to give us here at the show a gift in celebration of one of those holidays, here's what you can do. Go to iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you consume this podcast and get it funneled into your ear holes. Go there now. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Rate the show, review the show. That's what I want for Saturnalia-style winter solstice celebrations. Thank you ahead of time. Next week, peak bagging chick. She made it a goal to climb 100 peaks in 1 year, and partway through that process, she got a really nasty staph infection. But she did not let that stop her. Next week, peak bagging chick. See you then.